I was introduced to art by my father, who was an incredible drawer, who happened to be colorblind, though. In fact, the neat story was when I was exhibiting in Weyburn. My dad's, by the way, he's 91. But I had a show in Weyburn, and this woman came up to me. She kind of had a glint in her eye, and she showed me this drawing, a portrait of her, probably when she was a young woman, probably back in the 40s, and my dad had drawn it. But you know, at a young age, yeah, my dad introduced me to art just with his great drawing skill. I'm not as adept as a draftsman as my father is. I tried a few other mediums, but acrylic just seemed to grab me. I felt really an affinity towards that, yeah. Just the multiple different ways I can use it. You know, the thick texture is what really intrigues me with the acrylic paint. Acrylic's a type of plastic, really, and I'm really intrigued by the texture, which is impasto. It's called impasto. I call it kind of a landscape within a landscape because of the abstract qualities within a painting, so I love the texture. And I'll mix the paint, the acrylic paint, with a gel medium, which is really an inert paint, or paint without pigment. And it's usually, you know, a 30-70 mix. It adds body to the paint and extends the paint as well. And so I get the peaks and valleys with the gel medium.
The first thing that comes to mind when you look at Ken's work is the texture and the color, sort of the combination of the two. Being that we're in Saskatchewan, the Sculpted Landscape series represented, you know, different things that you would see on a prairie landscape, whether it was a sunset or an old abandoned farmhouse. So the imagery as well is very appealing. And then just the technique is so unusual. You don't see that in any other artist's work. So that's really interesting. And then with the Crooked Trees, he's taken that same style that he's known for and been able to transfer that into representing the crooked trees in such an interesting way.
The Crooked Trees are a small grove of trembling aspen located about 15-20 minutes northwest of Hafford, Saskatchewan. The trembling aspen have been studied by a professor from the University of Manitoba named Bill Renfrey. He determined the causes of genetic mutation. There's all kinds of little theories about what happened, and if you go up and you talk to some of the locals in Hafford, they'll get a glint in their eye and they'll tell you a cool story like things like, well, that was where so-and-so's mash pit was, where he made his moonshine, or the theory of alien urine is another kind of fun story. But Renfrey determined that it was a genetic mutation. He's taken samples of the trees, I guess, or cuttings, and regrown them. So in different soil, so it's nothing to do with the soil, nor the wind or anything like that. Another cool fact about the crooked trees is that trembling aspen propagate by root suckering. According to what he says, or my understanding anyway, is that all of the trees are actually one tree, or a genetic clone. So really fascinating. I was working at the Moose Jaw Public Library, and a woman named Vera actually showed me her candid shots from the weekend previous of the Crooked Trees. I was completely flabbergasted at seeing these exotic trees and really quite embarrassed to find out that they're really in my backyard up by Saskatoon and Hafford. I knew instantly I wanted to paint them. And that's part of being an artist as well. I know you want to capture things that people don't generally see, or, you know.
My first thought when Ken said that he was going to do this group of paintings on the crooked trees was, well, number one, what are the crooked trees? I've never heard of them. So Ken told us a bit about them, and then of course we just kind of sat down on the computer and started Googling crooked trees and came up with lots of images on the internet, and we're just astounded at this place. Like it's just unbelievable the way these trees, you actually wouldn't believe it's true unless you saw images. But then the next thing I thought of when I looked at it is I thought, how do you paint that? It's so gnarly and curled up and just so strange. I often have a hard time sort of imagining how an artist is going to go about depicting something.
Well, when I'm painting, I would start painting from an image, a photograph, and I would just use one that would really, speak to me in a way that, it's hard to explain. But I would start with the photographic image and then put it away, and then let my imagination take over, really. Exhibition consists of 13 paintings, fairly large format, 30 inches by 40 inches, all acrylic on canvas. There are also 10 photographs, 16 by 20, that go along with the show. The show has, it's been on tour. I had 4 venues in South Dakota. The series has been in Prince Albert, now it's in Moose Jaw right now as we speak. It was in Edmonton previously at the McMullen Gallery, where I was very fortunate to get the attention of the Edmonton Journal. They actually ran a half-page profile on the show, so very fortunate to have that kind of recognition. Margaret Atwood is of course, Canada's premier literary figure, and has an international standing. She tweeted the show on her Twitter account, so that was a nice gesture. I mean, the ground didn't shake or anything, but it's a really nice gesture. My internet website stats went through the roof. I think one of the most incredible wonders of Saskatchewan are the crooked trees, and just bringing that to a wider public. Like for myself, I'd never heard of them before. In fact, I work at the Public Library in Moose Jaw, and I'd consulted numerous books, the Saskatchewan Encyclopedia, Saskatchewan Geographic Perspectives, and there's no mention of the crooked trees. So more often than not, people would say, I've never heard of them before. I can't believe they're in Saskatchewan. So that's a big joy to bring that to people, yeah, because Saskatchewan's an incredible place. I think when you go to a gallery, there's certain paintings that just speak to you, in a way that you really can't describe, just like, music would speak to you. You really can't describe it, but it sort of affects you in a certain way. So that's what I want my images to do, or hope to do, is to resonate with people in a way that makes them appreciate life, makes them appreciate themselves.